Join Pharmadynamics' circle of trust and save up to 50% on your medicine. Pharmadynamics, effective, affordable healthcare.
Having been diagnosed with bipolar in his early 20s, accomplished filmmaker Simon Barnard has used his experience and applied his craft to bring greater awareness and insight to an often misunderstood condition.
About 3% of people have bipolar disorder worldwide, a proportion consistent for both men and women and across racial and ethnic groups.
Simon, when did you first realize you had a problem?
I was doing my final year in a BA Visual Communication Design course. At the end of the year, I started getting these hectic anxiety attacks, completely debilitating. So I couldn't complete my degree. Went to see a psychiatrist, and then he diagnosed me with depression, put me on antidepressants. It took me a while to recover. So I went back to try and finish the degree, then the same thing happened. And I was then diagnosed with bipolar. And antidepressants is actually the worst thing to use when bipolar, because it actually makes you more ill. It can often trigger a manic episode. So it actually triggered my first manic episode. And once that happens, there's no going back.
Bipolar disorder is a mood disorder, characterized by episodes of an elevated or agitated mood, known as mania, that often alternates with episodes of depression. It's difficult to diagnose, and managing it requires time and collaboration between patient and doctor.
You speak of manic episodes. What is it like living with bipolar?
It's absolute hell. Friends and relationships were a nightmare. Got rejected. But my family were very supportive, my parents specifically, because it was a very emotional time and they reacted very emotionally, but they informed themselves. And I think the unconditional love made all the difference.
In your experience, how is the condition stigmatized?
Well, mental health issues in general, I think, are frowned upon, especially when you go into religion. That was very difficult, because people try and pray away these issues. When you have diabetes or something like that, it's also a chemical imbalance, but people accept it in a way, because you can measure blood sugar levels. You can't measure, there's no blood test that can prove a mental disorder.
Simon has bravely used his own identity to represent the problem of bipolar disorder and offer solutions. His friends and family are wonderfully supportive of him.
How has your life changed since you've been diagnosed and you're receiving treatment?
I took the adversity and eventually turned it into an advantage, because I decided to take the issue and to work with it, and because I realized that there wasn't a lot of information available. And so I pitched this idea and got a sponsor and started making these documentaries, and in the process helped a lot of people.
What advice do you have for others experiencing the same as you did back then?
Seek help. The first thing I do is to approach maybe a therapist, but a therapist having knowledge about bipolar disorder, because a lot of therapists are opposed to psychiatry. It's also quite dangerous. But if you get diagnosed, eventually see a psychiatrist and get diagnosed, I'd go for a second opinion, just for yourself, because you have to kind of make peace with it and believe. Otherwise you could go off the medication, and that's a very dangerous thing. But once you make that shift, your life turns around. So it's something I'm very grateful I went through, and haven't looked back at all.
Simon has directed 45 TV programs and 5 documentaries on various stigmatized health conditions over the past 6 years. He's also part of the Hilo Design Project, raising awareness about bipolar disorder.
I didn't know Simon at all when he was not on medication. Like, he's been stable ever since we were together. And to be honest, like, he's more stable than most people I know. He's just the most loving and compassionate person. So if I see the footage of him when he had his manic episodes, it's very hard for me to believe that he used to be like that. I mean, you can see like the change in his eyes, or just he's very extroverted and so, and yeah, it is quite strange. So I think it's important also to see the humor in things and to not take everything so serious, which helps him.
The Hilo Project's goal is to encourage treatment through acceptance. Simon is a shining example of this vision, and he wants to help others find solutions and support.
When you were studying together 7 years ago, you and Simon weren't really friends and he was still undiagnosed. How did you experience him then as a person?
I found him very intimidating because you would get an experience of him of being very confident, probably when he was having a manic episode, and then for long periods of time he would be very disinterested and very kind of chilled out. It was very enlightening for me when I got to know him a bit better, just to see what a sweet and sincere guy he really is. When Simon started working on his documentaries, that's kind of how I learned, and I think it's great what he's doing. I think he deals with it in a way that destigmatizes the illness, and I think it'll mean a lot to people out there to see these stories of people who are coping with the illness. I think if people can become educated about the disease, it'll be great, because there are a lot of myths and it has a stigma.
Tell me a bit more about the nature and aim of the work you do.
Film is a medium I've been using for the past 6 years to create awareness, and we've received amazing feedback.
I think obviously awareness is the main goal, but also we're both interested in doing new, fresh work, doing something different and groundbreaking, if I may be so bold.
If people are exposed to the right information and this theme gets the right amount of visibility, the chances of correct diagnosis and also the acceptance of a diagnosis will hopefully increase.
While bipolar disorder is currently incurable, it is definitely manageable. It's a simple chemical imbalance, not a character flaw, and far from being a weakness.
Join Pharmacodynamics' Circle of Trust and save up to 50% on your medicine. Pharmacodynamics, effective, affordable healthcare.